Hi everyone, good evening, and thanks for joining me again. So last week we did flowers and we learnt how to add shading and tone, and we really focused on outside and what's so beautiful that's growing like wildflowers. So I hope you enjoyed that session, and I'm told that they're on there in case you want to look at them again or you want to revisit. Maybe you're new to us tonight, so if you want to see the past episodes, then please go on there and have a look and have a practice. I thought what was really important when I first started drawing was actually looking properly at what I was trying to draw, and how I was trying to make it look realistic, or how I was trying to make it look correct. And I was always really sort of making stuff up in my head, even though I thought I was doing what was right. So tonight we're going to look at 4 different ways of drawing. And we're going to use some really creative techniques. The first one is we are going to draw without looking at the page. So we are going to use all of our willpower, and if you don't have any willpower like me at times, then you could even cover up your page to stop you from looking. But what I want us to do is to use a nice flowing line to actually draw our images. So we're not going to take the pen off the page, so you'll need a pen or a pencil or something to draw with. And we're really going to concentrate on just observing. So again, that yoga technique of connecting our mind with our body, we're connecting our mind with our hand. So I've just took a couple of images around the house that I thought might be quite generic, and maybe you've got some yourself. So why don't we get into it? I'll just turn this around for you so you can see my setup here. So hopefully you can see a lovely bowl of fruit, not too difficult, typical still life as you would expect. So I've got my pen here, and what I'm going to do is and I promise I'm not cheating, I am just going to look at the image, and I'm going to pick a place to start from. So I'm just going to pick the stalk on the watermelon, and I'm going to very slowly, so do this really slowly, take your time. Think as you're going along on your page, think of the words smooth and slow and calm, and go back over the same line. So we're never taking the pen off. And you can carry on, keep going back over the same line. That's absolutely fine. And we're not going to draw any detail at this point, because what we're going to do is we'll go back in later and add some of that. And at the moment, I'm just looking at that banana stalk, so I can just see certain shapes, and I'm really trying to think about how these shapes look. Still on the page yet? I'm just going round. Nice and slow, nice and steady. I've got a medium grip on my pen, so I'm not allowing it to move around too much. And just keep going. Look at the space between the shapes. What can you see? What does that shape look like? And just continue to draw nice and smooth. And we're not going to know what this looks like until we look at our page. And part of it is, really wanting to make something look correct. And it's very difficult to stop your inhibitions and try and have a look. So I've just finished that. I'm just drawing my line now. Just move my camera over a little bit so you can see. Okay. Lovely. You see that a bit better now. So I'm just getting to the lemons here at the side. Again, I've not took my pen off. I'm going nice and slow. I don't know if you can hear the birds outside chirping. Got a lot of chicks that have just hatched at the moment. They're all bouncing round, which is lovely. So I'm just gonna draw up to that. And you might find yourself, that you've got to a place where you're a little bit stuck, and that's fine. Just go over. Keep going. Don't worry about how many lines. So long as you're observing, that's all it's about. So now I'm just going to add the plate. Goes around. So that goes a little bit off the page, but that's not a problem. Okay, so lovely. So that's my drawing. Honestly, without looking at the paper. And what we can do now is we can go a little bit more elaborate and add in the details. So still not looking at the page, but you can find where you want to start again, just for the first time. And I'm going to draw the pattern on the watermelon. So just take it really nice and slow, really nice and steady. Lovely little movements with the pen or the pencil. And it's almost as if you're tracing the object, the shape with your eye. So be really detailed in how you're looking. It's almost as if you can imagine your eye is connected to your hand, and that's telling you which way to draw. Again, just picking out some of the shapes that I can see on the watermelon. Nice and slow. And it's so difficult not to look at the page. When we do this in classes, I always say, you know, if you see the person looking, shout to them, aye, tell them that you see them looking. And when I was actually being taught by my tutor, Barbara, she was brilliant. She used to make us put a bin bag all over the easel so that we wouldn't cheat. So I'm going to leave that there. That's the watermelon. And so, my apple's a little bit in the wrong place. That's fine. We just want to draw a few little spots. So I'm just going in. And to connect the texture on the apple, I'm just doing little lines because obviously we're not taking our pen off the paper. Which is fine. Yeah. And then again, I'm going to place my pen back down for the texture of the banana. Very bruised looking banana, but they're the best ones for banana bread, I think. Okay. And again, pick your next one. Just look at those details on the inside. You don't have to do the detail if you don't like, if you prefer it as the drawing as it was before. And then the final thing that I'm going to go for is this very elaborate plate. Now, just for the sake of time, I'm probably not going to add all the details into this here. But I'm just going to give a nod towards it so that anybody looking at this piece of work could, you know, can see that there was a pattern here. And it's yours, you know, so you can make your own decisions of how you want it to look. But again, just connect the eye with the hand. And it may be that sometimes you forget and you've got to bring yourself back to that moment of, you know, actually observing correctly. And that's okay, because this is something you can easily practice and get really good at, as with any bits of art. And it's nice actually doing a drawing like this, starting to appreciate some of the patterns on this plate, you know, that I've never sort of really looked at before. I'm just going to go do the rim on the outside. The thing is, there's no hard and fast rule with this. You can do it at any sort of pace, any area you like, go even slower. So long as you're maintaining that control, it will work. It's so interesting to try and find where to stop. Fantastic. So I'm going to leave that there. So I'll just write on here. So drawing without looking at the page. And these are actually quite lovely to colour in as well. So if you've got some watercolours with you tonight, or you might have some colouring pencils or pastels, crayons, whatever you've got with you, you can actually colour them in. Just bring it to life a little bit. I love drawing without looking at the page because it's something that you probably would never be able to draw in that way. So you wouldn't be able to actually, you know, redraw it like this unless you had that structure of not looking at the page. Really loose and free. And it mimics quite a lot of really famous artists, you know, and how they actually draw. So as I say, you can add colour and be really adventurous with yours. You wanted to use paints. I think as we get, you know, a basic idea of the shapes that we see. It's a little touch of colour. Lovely to lighten. Let's give an indication of what it is. So not only can you draw really well, but now you can draw without actually looking at the page, which is a major skill. Let's add a little bit of blue down here just to give it a little accent. Fab. So that's drawing without looking at the page. And again, all these skills and these tools and techniques are really going to help us to progress. So what happens is when we look at an object is we think we know what we've seen, and it's very easy to make up that shape in our own mind because we may have seen it quite often. You know, if we think of a house, we would think of, you know, that the type of roof with the square at the bottom. You know, this was kind of, you know, a typical image, and that is something you know, that we do for every object that we see. So what I've done is I flipped it upside down. Now you can take a pencil, you can use drawing without looking again, you can draw however you like, but what I really want you to enjoy is just the process of drawing something upside down. And what this does is it kind of confuses our mind, so we don't really know what we're looking at and we just look at the shapes. So we just concentrate really on the shapes that we can see, and this is great for drawing portraits as well. So if you just want to jump straight in, pick a point to start with, it could be anywhere. Add some details in as you go along if you like. And just really explore drawing upside down. And you could tell people that you've drawn something upside down. They might think that you've been standing on your head. I think you're an even better artist. So, and you can correct things if you think, you know, it needs to be a bit further down. Just explore again. Nice and smooth. And if you are drawing without looking at the page, sorry, if you are drawing and looking at the page, then all you need to make sure that you do is look at the image in front of you more often. So you really, as you're drawing, you should be looking at the image drawing, looking at the image drawing, just so that you know that you're really observing correctly. Right, I'm going to add a few details in. And what's really lovely actually with this is if you have got coloured pencils on you, to actually draw in the same colour as the object. So where you're drawing the banana, drawing yellow, the apple, drawing blue, gives this really nice finish. Lovely little effect. You can swap your pens or your pencils in between when you get to a new colour. And then for the fun bit, so don't worry if you're still drawing, that's fine, is we turn it round and see what we've got. Not too bad. And we can carry on adding details like we did before. I love the texture on this melon. It's almost like crystals. There we go. And just take your time, nice and slow. And again, you know, things that are really difficult, or it might even be that you're in the middle of a drawing and you're not too sure why it looks a bit off, but something's not quite right, it doesn't look really that accurate. Turn the image upside down and have a look, and you more than likely find what it is that's going on with it. Doesn't quite ring true. You know, all these techniques are something, I think I always say this, that you can put in your tool belt for when you're drawing. If you're ever stuck and you think, or creatively stuck, you know, you're not too sure what to draw, take a photograph of something around the house, or even sit there. The reason I've got it on a photograph is so you can join in with me today, but you could just as well have it in front of you. But obviously it's easier to turn a photograph upside down than it is a bowl of fruit. Just tracing these lovely lines. So we can come back to some of these techniques. Last bit. And for those that was with us last week, if you remember that texture, so just those little flicky marks to create texture, you can even add some of that in. Just keep checking some of the darker bits. If you like, add a bit of tone. Really just use this as a our practice. You know, it doesn't matter if this goes wrong. This is just getting our skills going. You'll notice we didn't do a warm-up as well tonight because, you know, this really is our warm-up. We're concentrating on what we can see. And I always find it quite tiring because we're really concentrating hard and drawing the image. But that means it's working, I suppose. Okay. So I think that that's enough there for now. So we're going to move on to our next image. And as well, you know, these will all be on YouTube later if you do want to practice some more. So we are going to go to this image, and it's a picture of a little pot, a camera and a globe. Let's get a new piece of paper. And now we're going to draw with your opposite hand. So if you're used to drawing with your left hand, then draw with your right hand. If you're used to drawing with your right hand, you're going to be drawing with your left. If you're one of those clever people that can draw with both, that's absolutely fine. You won the lottery. You're one of those talented people. Just draw with the one that is your least used, I would say. And what we're going to do is just going to put our pen in our opposite hand. And you can look at the page, but what I want you to do is try and keep that pen on the paper, just so that you've got a little bit more control. And when you're holding it in your opposite hand, it'll feel really unnatural. So just think about the grip. You know, you don't want to be too tight, but you know, try and control it. So, you know, fight your instincts of holding it really tightly in case it slips. Otherwise, you might struggle moving it across the page. So I'm going to start with the pot. And as I said again, you can look at it. Put it in the opposite hand. And another really cool technique, but you have to be very, very careful, is to use your mouth to hold the pen. Make sure somebody's with you when you do this. But think about the non-conventional ways of doing it, or you could put it in between your elbow. And again, don't worry, you can go backwards on your lines, that's absolutely fine. So, yeah. And again, when I'm drawing, I'm thinking about how is my grip on that pen. And if you think you've done your line incorrectly, go back, go over it, absolutely fine. We are just practicing. And this again helps us to stop thinking that we know what something looks like, and it really challenges our mind. And it actually uses a different part of your brain, which is amazing. That's the science behind it, I promise. And these are art techniques that, as I say, I've learnt from uni, learnt from college, that really help you to get back on track with your work. You're using an opposite hand or drawing without looking. It's a great thing to do. So I'm just going to carry on, but I'm use my camera over a little bit so you can see this part of it. Just going to do the globe. Oh, how's it feeling for everyone, I wonder? Again, I'm trying to be controlled. So wobbly lines, that's okay. Back up to here. Let's go off the page. Now for the challenge of doing something perfectly round. It's interesting. Whew. Okay. Actually, I might just add in. It's a bit lower down, isn't it? I might just add in the actual shelf behind. Lovely. Keep going nice and slow. Still going. I'm wondering how you found that. You might want to add in those details. So there's a little detail on the case. Maybe not all of the globe, but there's some details you could add. See a little bracket as well, back. Remember your non-dominant hand. See what more we can add. Nice little stitch detail as well at the bottom. Oh, this is really challenging. And some people that I teach actually prefer this drawing to the other one. You don't think it's as, I think it's a bit looser. You enjoy that imperfect line. Some more detail. And again, you know, if you've got watercolours with you, you know, add a bit of colour to that. It would look beautiful. Don't have to add lots, but just add in some details. Right. Normal colour pencils or watercolour pencils would be lovely too. Let's add a bit of colour, a bit of interest. Lovely. That I've just been sent one of the comments. Thank you. Drawing with your left hand is really interesting feeling. Finding it difficult, absolutely. And that's so great, you know, that perfectionist in us all. You know, we all want to really do fantastic pieces of art. I think, you know, to get it looking spot on. But these techniques, oh, they're just going to push your practice so far. It's really going to push your artwork to a great level. And as I say, you know, it's so interesting, even for ourselves, we want things to look perfect, don't we? And just to have a play like this and give yourself that permission to go for it. Brilliant. Thanks so much for that comment. Fantastic. So we can just add in the details. This is actually a little pot that my friend's husband made. A little present. I'm a big lover of darts, so it keeps the darts in. But again, you don't have to use the image that I've got in front of you either. You know, find something around your house if you're not particularly interested in this subject. And it'd be lovely to see what you are actually drawing, because unfortunately I can't, you know, we can't be in the same room, or I can't see your work, which is fine. But we do have a Twitter and an Instagram link, so if you put @NeuroChampions, I'll be able to see your work. That would be great. I'd love that. But yeah, really interesting to see the loose lines. And actually, you know, it kind of reminds me a bit Quentin Blakeish, the way that he draws with that feather pen, because you get these textured wobbly lines. So I always kind of go to that if I'm drawing something quite cute or an animal. So I've just coloured that in. And we're going to move to our next one. So we've done drawing with the opposite hand. We've done drawing without looking at the page. We've drawn upside down, but not standing on our heads. And we are now going to look at some negative space. So what's interesting with negative space is it makes us stop looking at the object and it makes us look at the space in between. So say, for example, we've got this little tile in front here, and we've got this Russian doll here, and we've got this box with binoculars in here. If we're drawing something, we would look at these binoculars, we'd look here, and we'd be focusing on this image. What I want us to do is to actually look at the space in between. So the space that creates another shape. You might have seen those vases and faces. So when you look at the vase, it actually is a face, or you look at the face, but then you can actually see a vase. And it's very similar to this, and it's looking at the space that could really be a shape in itself. So I don't want any real details going on. We're just going to look at the negative space. So we're going to draw around the object, but we're also going to really focus on what that negative space looks like. So I'm going to start off here, just in this little loop, yeah, and then follow it down. So can you see? Yeah, I think I'll start a bit higher this time. And you can use your normal hand, and you can now look at the page. No restrictions for this one. So I'm at the bottom of this hook here now. I'm going to ignore that, what I can see, and I'm just going to carry on to draw the space in between. And again, this is really, really useful. If you think that actually, you know, it's not looking right, I'm not too sure what's wrong with my drawing, you know, then this is fantastic, again, to try and solve some of that. So this space here that I've drawn, this is in the centre here. I've just ignored those blinds for now, just to simplify it really for our first go. But you can absolutely draw that, take that away. And again, notice how slow I'm going, because every time I move slightly, I'm re-looking at the object that I'm drawing. I'm really trying to capture that shape. Okay. So I'm just going to head up above this ring now. But you don't need to follow me exactly. As I say, you can carry on from whatever feels comfortable for you. And I'm just going to follow that around. And there's a tiny little loop of cotton there. You can even add such small details. Yep. Sorry that my hand's covering. And again, we can see another little loop from the little leather belt there. And again, another little space. So you should have something that's starting to look like this. Up here. Okay. I'm going to continue to go around the Russian doll, and I'm just looking at the outside space. And again, as I say, you know, please don't feel like, you know, you can't correct your own work. And sometimes that's why I love drawing in pen, because, you know, I like to see my corrections when I look back, and I like to see actually, you know, what did I do with that and how did I correct that? It's all about learning. I imagine it to be like maths, you know, when you've got something wrong and you can see your workings out, similar to that. Just following it down. I'm just doing in between these straps here. Got another bit there. And then this is the blind. Wrong angle, I think. It's a bit better. And across. And flip. And back up to here. And then we can finish off this side. But this is, you know, I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking, is it accurate? Looking at that negative space. How far does that go? This bit here seems a little bit long, actually, for me. It's probably more like this. More of a curve. And this is, again, a real great way to actually see what's right. How's that? So you can go over and over. And there's the buckle there, so I know that the lace is there. Another bit of negative space. Again, you know, just take your time. It's all about learning where things go. And then what's really great is if we actually fill in, so you almost create that silhouette shape. And that's really actually what negative space is. It's that silhouette, just to intensify. You can use anything to colour this in with. You've got paints. And what this is going to do is really bring out to us the shapes that we've drawn on the negative by pushing these back. And again, you can take a bit more negative space there, that little triangle. Bring those around. Yeah, and then even add that first blind in so we know. See? Just going to grab a bigger pen. That brush pen as well, the noise kind of always goes through me a little bit. I don't know what it is. It's a really good pen, but I'm not too sure why. Here's where I play this one. And if you're drawing out your image before you paint it or colouring or you're adding more detail, again, this is a great way. As I say, just keep checking your work, keep checking what you've drawn is correct. You know, and I can see actually, you know, looking here, now I've coloured it in, it's even more obvious that this actually should be longer. This probably should come out to about here. But again, don't worry, it's all a work in progress. So what we've done is we've really created some shapes that are, these in red, that are all negative space. So all of this is the things that we've been looking at, the part of the image that we've been looking at. Cool. Fantastic. So we've done drawing with the opposite hand, drawing without looking at the page, drawing upside down, and drawing negative space. Now I'm going to use one more image. I don't know whether to use the tools. I think I'm going to use the tools. So this is a bag of tools. I normally always draw flat plants and flowers, so this is really pushing me to the extreme. But I just thought it was quite cool actually that, you know, you can draw absolutely anything. And what I want you to do is I want you to just pick one of those 4 things that we've done. So it could be that you're drawing with your opposite hand. It could be that you're drawing without looking at the page. So you're drawing just by looking at the image. I can't turn it upside down, but potentially you could turn your screen upside down. And if you can do that, then choose that as an option, or you could draw the negative space. So we're looking at these shapes here between each object. Yeah, so this here, whatever you would like to practice. So I'm going to draw without looking at the page, just because that's the one that always challenges me most. And we've got the next sort of 15 minutes to draw this, and I've picked a particularly complicated one now with practice so that you can really hone those skills. So remember, nice and slow, remember to take your time and just have fun and enjoy it. There's no pressure on this whatsoever. That's the beauty of this technique, is that we're not expecting anything to look so amazing, because we're using these techniques that aren't usually something we would go to. So I'm just drawing this little screws here and some of these lines. But if you don't want to draw this, think of something that you've got at home there in front of you. You know, you might have some beautiful flowers that you've got from the garden. You could have an image that you've always really wanted to have a go at, or something that you really enjoy drawing. Please feel free to use that too. This will work on drawing absolutely anything. It's actually quite beautiful when you draw a landscape, because it's just so free. Again, just take your time, really connect
your eye with your hand. Try to stay, as I would say to my students, in the zone. Not too sure what that means, but it normally means to then put your phones down. I think I've got myself a little bit lost, but that's okay. Keep going. And you don't need to use pen, you can use pencil, you can use absolutely anything that you like. As I always say, this is your drawing, your sketchbook or your page. And if anyone knows what these tools are, it would be fantastic. I wouldn't know the first thing what I needed what for. And I do wonder which has been your favourite technique today. It'd be really interesting to find out. So again, you know, you can share your work. That would be fantastic to see on @NeuroChampions. So it's NEURO and then champions CHAMPIONS. Struggling with this little one. And I think it's great to see artists make mistakes too. You know, it really helps me when I see somebody, because, as I say, I don't believe in talent. I think it's all real time and effort that you put in. And the more time that you put in, the better you get at something. Love a cliche, practice makes perfect. And it really does. And the more that you get used to these techniques, even if you just do this once a day, I guarantee you that your drawing will be better. You'll be looking sharper, have a better understanding of how things work with each other. You know, and we'll go back to nature next week, where for those who are joining us next week, actually, if you want to find something outside and bring it with you, that'll be fantastic. We're going to actually look at some printing, how to print, even with felt tip pens you can do it with. You could have watercolours. And even drawing with some objects that we find outside too. So I'm not too sure where I'm up to. Some kind of draw over. And again, you know, if you pick a technique that you're not too certain of, it's only going to really help you to get used to that too. I don't think them birds have had a minute yet. I don't know if you can hear them. Very excited. Just finishing off the last little tool down here. Hopefully you still see. And then I'm just going to add in some highlighting colours. Again, just to bring some things to the front, to push some things back. If you was with us last time, wow, look at that. I quite like that. Quite proud of that. Although I'm sure we did have one more screwdriver than what I've drawn on there, but that's okay. And I just love these little pops of red and yellow. So I've just got my coloured pencils, my trusty coloured pencils. Just going to add in some detail. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Oh no, yes, they're just over there a little bit. See, I've got 4. Just a little bit of texture on this lovely wooden handle. Some bright yellow here. Oh, I need to work out where that is. Just on the side somewhere. Just flashes of little colour, you know, will enable us. I might even go back and add some detail in there. That's quite a nice little thing that I've missed there. But again, I'm not looking, I'm just adding some detailing. That. You can see where you've kind of messed up, and that's the fun of it, to go back and think, oh. I love the unveiling of when you draw without looking. I absolutely love the unveiling of it, because you just don't know how it's going to be. But to think that you're not looking at the page and you can still more or less tell what things are, you know, I think that's brilliant. Just gonna, and I do like going back in and adding detail, and because, you know, it's nice to kind of have a real finished piece at times. No rules, no hard and fast rules. I've heard the Grace and Perry thing on the telly's really good as well, so I'm going to dip into that this week. If anyone's watched it so far, no spoilers. I believe it's brilliant. I'm also going to be exploring drawing in one of my favourite books and my favourite artist, Lorna Scobie. So I know I always show you a book every time, but this is one of my favourites, 365 Days of Creativity by Lorna Scobie. So, you know, I definitely look at investing in this. They're great prompts, really fun prompts like this one, Draw the Flamingos. So yeah, fab book on Amazon. It's about £7. And she produces one every year. But there's some lovely little ideas in there that's really great, and again helps your drawing skills. Let's have a look. They're great. There's a little detail to the side. I'm not sure these tools would work if they look like this in real life. But that is just such the fun of it. So yeah, if you're joining us next time, think about what you can find outside that you'd like to use, what's free, what's on the ground, what's in your garden, or if you can't take it, it's not fell on the ground, you can take a photograph. Be really cool to do it from that. And I'm not being very neat with this at all. I'm trying to fit in the style of the actual drawing itself. Start these little pockets. See those? Some more things that, and it's so addictive. You can carry on with this. Really, especially if you've got such a busy image like this with lots of different details. What's really nice and what I've done before is great is the utensils in the kitchen, or you might have that bit of makeup in your makeup bag. That's a cool photo as well, or a nice little bit of drawing without looking that you could do. I think that's the final little bit of detail that I'm going to add here before we really recap. But yeah. And if I had more time, I'd definitely be adding texture onto that strap by adding some lines. Again, just really free. It's missing. No. The other thing is, you know, you've got to be really good at telling yourself when to stop too. Doesn't always need loads of detail. That's something I think I particularly struggle with, you know, just adding and adding and adding. Sometimes it needs it, sometimes, you know, it's just a balance. And my tutor always used to say to me, Fiona, she'd say, you know, just step back, have a look, see if there's a balance. We used that squinting technique last time, you know, you just squint, see if you can see a balance. Colour, if you've used colour, lines, if you've used different types of lines, even just shapes. Does it all look like one image? I think that's going to be there. Yeah. And so this was drawing without. Okay. And sometimes with looking at the page, looking away, drawing without, yeah, looking at the page. Fab. Okie dokie, everyone. So how fast is that hour gone at all? Super quick. I just want to recap on what we've done so far tonight. So we have drawn without looking at the page. So this was our first attempt and we added some detail in there, but we took it nice and slow. And we drew the fruit. We added a little bit of colour in there, but I think you'll find that, you know, the lines are really lovely and something that you may not necessarily draw like, so it should allow you to be freer. And then we flipped it, we drew upside down, so we followed that new technique of actually being able to see where the errors were. And then when you turn it round, it looks super accurate. So just another little technique that you could practice. And then we drew with our opposite hand, which was really uncomfortable for us, something that we're not used to doing, but a great technique again, just to make those lines a little bit more freer to enjoy it. And then we drew the negative shapes. So we really concentrated on these shapes in between, and actually how do we get it right. And I made the error here, didn't I? I didn't make it long enough, and that's great. It means that we're correcting our work as we go. And then we did what we wanted to do at the last stage. So we drew these really complicated tools, and I drew without looking and sometimes with looking at the page. So just thank you all for joining me tonight. This will be uploaded, so you'll be able to catch it later on if you missed anything that you'd like to go back and have a look at. Please get in touch at NeuroChampions, and I'll see you soon. Thanks everyone. Good night. Bye.